Okay, this is part 2 of making the bread in the slow cooker. As you can hear, my timer is going off. I set it in my slow cooker on high for 2 hours. So now this is step 3. This is the full step. So I'll go ahead and move you closer. We'll see what we've got. Again, this is the first time I've done this, so here we go. Let's see what we've got. Now, I did not score the top of the bread, and I did not put a towel underneath the lid. So we're going to see what we got. Well, we've got something going on here. This is 2 hours. It did rise very well. And to me, it still looks a little doughy, but it said 2 hours to 2.5 hours. I probably could have went 2.5 hours, but we're going to go ahead and do the 2 hours, and I'm going to go ahead and do the next step. So let me turn this off. Okay, the next step is to move it over to a baking pan. This does not look browned at all, but I'm just following the instructions. Again, I think it could have went 2.5 hours, just my personal opinion. And it says to remove it from the parchment paper. Place it on a metal rack. To me, it's kind of flat. I hope you're seeing that. It's kind of flat. It is a little brown on the bottom. I'd like to have seen more rise, but we'll see what happens. Now, it says to put it in on broil. Take your parchment paper off, place it on a metal pan, put it in the oven on broil for 3 to 5 minutes. So I'm going to set my timer. Let me set my timer for 5 minutes. And I'm going to put it on broil. And I may have to just watch my phone here. So, this is on part 1, I had started off with already having this prepared in the bowl. And I had the bowl covered. And as you can see, at the end of my part 1, well, at the beginning of my part 1, I was at this stage when we started because I wanted to speed things up because of the live stream. So, then I went back and I showed you how I put this together. Ryder, no, baby. No. And I showed you how to put this together, and then we covered it and let it set for 2 hours, and then I come back to do part 2. And as you can see, look at all those bubbles. It was sitting here on the counter for 2 hours covered. You can cover it with plastic wrap or a bowl cover like I've chose. This is one of my new bowl covers that is lined in plastic. And as you can see, it did rise very, very nice. Look at all those air bubbles, see all those air pockets. So it did rise very, very nice. So that would have been your first part. The second part we did on part 1. We took it out of the bowl and moved it over to the counter. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with this one. And just want to flour my surface. While we're waiting for that to get done in the broiler. And I still have 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So here's my dough. As you can see, it did rise very nice. You can see all those bubbles. Jiggly. Same as the last one. So now I'm just going to go ahead and get this dough out of my bowl onto my counter and my floured surface. And it says to flour your hands and to form a ball. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different because on the videos I've watched they've done it 2 different ways. Let me go ahead and flour my hands here, because you want to make sure that your hands are good and floured. You'll hear my puppies in the background, they're playing. So I want to get this floured. A little bit more on my hands here. It's sticky dough. It's very sticky. It's supposed to be sticky, and it is sticky. Okay. And then I need to form a ball, same as I did the last time. And I'm probably going to make a mess. I normally do. So I'm going to form my ball. But this time, I'm going to see if I can't get the ball a little bit tighter. And this time, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to score the top of this loaf. I did not score the last one. So I've got a nice ball. I'm going to go ahead and just flour it a little bit on the top. And it is very, very jiggly. You can see those air bubbles. And I'm just going to use my scorer. And I'm just going to put a nice score in this one, just to see the difference. So I went on the side there with a nice score, and I'm just going to do one long score, and then I'm just going to do a couple small scores on the top, just to see the difference. So I'm going to try this. Now, I need to take my ball, and I'm going to place it on the parchment paper. So let me get this back in my crock pot. And place the dough into the slow cooker or crock pot, whatever you want to call it. And my broiler has been on 5 minutes. I'm going to check that. Let me get my hands cleaned up here a little bit. Again, this is an experiment. I have done this before, so we're doing this together. Okay, so I'm going to bring you over here. Turn that off. And I'm not really seeing anything. Let me hit broil. Now I'll hit my timer, 5 minutes. It helps if you actually turn it on. Come on, Tammy, get with it. Okay, so I have my parchment paper. I went ahead and scored it this time a little bit. The only thing I'm going to do different is the last time I just put my lid on and then turn this on high for 2 hours. Now, the second way that I'm seeing people do it is they're taking a towel and they're laying a towel. Some people have scored the top, so we're going to try it that way. Now I'm just going to take my towel and put it on. And then I'm going to turn this on high for 2 hours. And then I will let you know on a short, I'll let you see the difference between this and what I have now. The one I have now did not have a whole lot of rise, so I'm hoping this will have a little more rise. The bottom was brown, and I really think it says on high for 2 to 2.5 hours. I really think this could have went 2.5 hours. That's a little flat. I would like, but you can see that it did brown. So we're going to go ahead and try it like this. That was without scoring it. And this is a large crock pot. So if I would have had a smaller crock pot, it probably would not have spread out as far, and I might have gotten more rise. But I just wanted to try it in this and see what happened. So now we're going to do the 5 minutes on broil, and we'll see what that looks like. So this is part 2, and like I said, this is an experiment. I've not done this before, so you're doing this with me. So I do like the new covers. As you've seen, the bread raised very well, and I just ordered these through Walmart, I believe, and it's just a bowl cover with a plastic liner. Really easy to clean up. And as you've seen, the dough did rise very, very well. So, the last thing you want to do when you go to take it out of the oven is you want to make sure that you have a good thermometer. Your dough, your bread, according to this, is done whenever you have a temperature, and this is using your thermometer in the center of your loaf at 190 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. And they say that it's better to use the thermometer to get that temperature than trying to do the pecking on the bottom of the loaf to see if it's done by sound. So I've got my thermometer ready, and I'm going to go ahead and clean up a little bit of my mess here while I'm waiting for that broiler to get done. So, again, I'm just trying an experiment, and the reason I'm doing this is I spoke to you on part 1, is when I'm in the camper, my oven is too small for me to actually bake bread. So I'm seeing if I can do this, and it works out, and then all I have to do is we'll put it in a small oven on broil, and maybe I can still bake bread in the small camper oven, because they are very, very tiny. And you can hear my puppies in the background, so we're going to have very healthy, happy puppies, as you can hear. So I'm going to go ahead and clean up some of my mess here. I do have one smaller crock pot here, or slow cooker, whichever you want to call it, that I could have tried, but I wanted to try and do both of these the same way. So I'm using the same one. This time I just scored it and I added the towel on top. And I'm putting it on high for 2 hours. So that will be, I'll have to set a timer for that as well. My timer's going off on the broiler, and I'm not really seeing much. I may need to move my loaf up one rack. I do have my rack kind of low, so let me try moving that up one. But I'm not really seeing a whole lot of difference yet. So let me move that up a little higher. minutes, that is. A fairly flat loaf. Get it a little closer to the broiler. And it's telling me my oven door is open, so let's give it another 5 minutes. And again, I'm doing this on a live stream, so this is real life, real time. I'm not impressed with the height of that loaf. I'm hoping the next loaf is going to be higher. I did score it. And I maybe should have used a smaller slow cooker. So this is just trial and error. So far it looks like it's rising, so let's see what happens. I don't want to let too much of that steam out of there. I'm hoping with me rolling that a little tighter on this loaf and scoring the top that maybe this time it'll be a little bit taller, more fluffy loaf. I don't want it real big because your camper ovens are very tiny. So I need it to be the size that I can do it in the slow cooker and then put it into the oven on broil. So that's why I'm doing this. It's an experiment for the camper. That way I don't have to come home and spend several days like I have baking to do my catch-up for bread baking at home. So I did sandwich bread, I did cinnamon raisin bread, and I did sourdough bread while I've been home this week. So if I can do this in the slow cooker, that's going to save me coming back home and trying to do all of my baking and catching up. So this is an experiment and we're trying it together. Let me see if I got that high enough. Now we're doing something. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay, let me turn that just a little bit. It is browning now. Again, I'd like to have seen that a little bit higher. So I'm just going to turn that timer off. And I'm going to say, it said 3 to 5 minutes. And if you do have it on broil and you do the broiler on, you're definitely going to need 3 to 5 minutes because it is browning nicely. And then this time, the only thing I did different was whenever I went and put it into the crock pot, I did, when I floured it and formed my ball, I did score it. I made my ball a little tighter this time, and I did add some flour to the top, and I did score it. One long cut and a couple small cuts on the top. Then I placed it into the slow cooker, the same as the last time, on parchment paper. The only thing I did different this time was the scoring, the tighter ball, scoring the top, and before putting the lid on, I have the parchment paper in my crock pot that I put my dough in that was scored, and then I placed a towel this time on the crock pot or slow cooker, whichever you prefer to call it, before putting the lid on. The last time I just put the lid on and the rise was not the greatest. So I'll get this out of here or I'm going to have glue. So it can be done. You can make bread in a slow cooker. Look at that. Again, I'd like to see a little more rise out of it, but you can do it. It can be done. Now, even if it rises about so high, I'm still going to be able to put that into my small itty bitty camper stove, my oven, and use the broiler for the final browning. But it did brown very nice. So can you make bread in your slow cooker? You absolutely can. Just look at that. So this time I'm hoping with the dough being just a little bit, the ball being a little tighter, and with me scoring it, I'm hoping to get a little higher rise, and it may again be the size of the slow cooker, because this is a pretty good size slow cooker. It's large, and that gave the dough plenty of room to spread. So if I would have used a smaller slow cooker, I probably would have gotten more rise. But I don't want it to be really, really big, because then it's not going to be able to fit into my camper oven, because I only have about that much space between my rack and the top of the oven in the camper. So you're probably looking at 6 to 8 inches. So I cannot have a real tall loaf. That's why I can't make homemade bread in the camper oven. But as you see, you can make bread. Now I'm going to check the temperature. It said it should be 190 to 200. And I'm going to put it right in the center. Of course, it's been out for a little bit. And I'm showing 194, 195. So I would say it was probably close to 198 or higher, because it's been out for a little bit. It is definitely got a crunch to it. You can hear my puppies in the background. Let me crunch it. Can you hear that? It's hot, so I'm using my legs. Turn it around there. So yes, you can make bread using your slow cooker. And again, that was my first try. And I may not have had, uh-oh, my puppies are wrestling, sorry. I may have to go supervise here in a minute. This was without the towel, this was without scoring, and this was a looser ball. I didn't have it quite as tight as the one I have now. So I'm gonna, when this one finishes in 2 hours, so now I'm going to set my timer for probably about an hour and 45 minutes. And then I'm going to go check that. And it says 2 hours to 2.5 hours in your slow cooker, and I think it will work great. So I want to go ahead, I know I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to move this over, and I want to cut into this because I'm just curious. I probably should let it cool, but I'm going to go ahead and try that, just to see what the center is going to look like. And then that way you'll get to see the center of the bread. So I'm just going to cut this right in the center. And you can you hear that crunch? It definitely has a crunch. You can hear my puppies in the background wrestling to the plane. So yes, you definitely have the crunch, just like you would with an artisan loaf. Oh, look at that. That is awesome. Could I live with that? You better believe I could. That has got a really nice grain. It's soft. That would be excellent as toast. And you can see the steam coming off of that, maybe. It is steaming hot. So, can you make bread in your slow cooker? You absolutely can. Beautiful green. Look at that. Just look at that. Soft, but yet crunchy. So am I pleased with this? I absolutely am. Am I going to try this in my camper? You better believe I will. So, this is part 2. So if you want to see how I put all this together, you can go back to part 1. And I started off with my dough already covered. I had already mixed it up and had it covered because you have to leave it sit on your counter once you mix it up for 2 hours covered. And if you don't want to do it the same day, once you mix it up and cover it, either plastic or I used one of my new bowl covers, which is lined in plastic. Once you get it mixed up into that messy dough texture and cover it, you can actually set it in the refrigerator overnight if you don't want to bake it today and you just want to get it out and bake it tomorrow. You'd probably want to let it come to room temperature before you go ahead and put it into your slow cooker. And then after that set for the 2 hours, when I did my live stream, I started with showing you the covered bowl that had set for 2 hours, and then we took it from that to moved it over to a floured surface, and I floured my hands and I made a ball, just turned it into a ball. I did not score this one. I just left it plain. There's no score on top. And you want to make sure you have parchment paper in your slow cooker, and you want to make sure that it's up tall enough that you'll be able to lift your dough up out of your hot slow cooker. So once you have your dough formed, you place it into your slow cooker lined with parchment paper. You set your slow cooker on high for 2 to 2.5 hours. And then once your timer goes off at 2.5 hours, or 2 hours is what I had mine set on. You want to put it on a metal pan. You want to remove it from the parchment paper, and you want to set it in your oven on broil for 3 to 5 minutes. And that will give you a beautiful toasted top, nice and brown all the way around. It's soft, but yet it's still crunchy. It's not overdone on the bottom, because in your slow cooker it will not brown it. So once you have your 2 hours done in your slow cooker, you're going to remove it, put it on your metal pan, remove your parchment paper, because your broiler and parchment paper does not go together. So just place your loaf on your metal pan, put it in your oven on broil for 3 to 5 minutes, and then to make sure that it is done, make sure that you use a thermometer and put it into the center of the bread, and your temperature should be 190 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. That's better than using the old way of packing the bottom of your loaf to see if it's done. So that way you're putting it right into the center. But just look at that lovely grain. And now I think I should do a taste test. We got to do a taste test. So let me go ahead and slice me off. I'm going to just slice off a piece here. I'm just using a bread knife. You can hear the crunch, and I should have let this cool a little bit. We'll see how we can do with this without mushing it too much, I hope. Look at that beautiful. That is beautiful. Could I live with that in the camper? I absolutely could. So can you make bread in your slow cooker? You absolutely can. Okay, let me go ahead and put some butter on this. And then we're going to do the taste test. If you want to see how I put everything together, you want to go back. I did a part 1 earlier today, but because this is not a video and it's a live stream, I broke it up into part 1 and part 2. And you'll see how I put everything together and what steps I went through, and then you'll see what I'm doing different this time. This is so soft, just look at that. Mmm. Oh my goodness. Mmm. Oh yes, this is delicious. That is absolutely delicious bread. Mmm. One more. Mmm. Mmm. Oh my goodness. And is it soft? Mm-hmm. I have dentures and I'm actually having no trouble at all. Nice and soft. Look at that beautiful grain. Soft, squishy, fluffy. I'm hoping the next one will come out a little bit taller. Again, I did use a large slow cooker. If I would have used a smaller slow cooker, or even a more round, tall slow cooker, it may not have spread out as much. So this time I made my ball a little bit tighter. This one I did not score the top of it. The second one that I just put in, I did score the top. So I'm going to see if that helps it to rise a little bit more. And the first one, I did not add the towel before placing the lid on. And on this one, I did score the top. I made the ball a little bit tighter. And I placed the towel on before placing the lid on. And set it for 2 hours. So I'm going to try it both ways. That's the 2 ways that I have seen it done. And my dryer is beeping, so let me go turn that off. So if you are staying in a camper and you know how small the ovens are in a camper and you want some homemade bread, can you make it in your slow cooker and then just brown it, finish browning it in the oven on broil? You absolutely positively can. Just look at that beautiful loaf of bread. Absolutely delicious. Did the taste test. I wish you guys could taste it. I wish you could smell. Oh, it smells amazing. So, am I impressed? I absolutely am. Will I continue to try different size slow cookers and shapes, slow cookers, to make sure that it's not spreading out as quite as wide, because this did spread out quite wide. As you can see, that's a very large loaf. So I'm hoping to get a little more rise by making it the ball a little tighter before placing it into the slow cooker on the parchment paper. And I also scored it, so I'm going to see if that will help open the top to let some more expansion. And then again, it may be that my slow cooker that I'm using is very large, so my loaves are not going to be as tall. But these will be absolutely perfect to make now in the camper. So when I come home, I'm not spending my week baking bread and catching up at home like I did the last few days. And I made white sandwich bread, and I made cinnamon raisin bread, and I made sourdough bread. So if I can do this in the slow cooker at the camper, then I won't have to worry about coming home and spending a lot of my time at home, not only catching up laundry because we don't have our mobile home moved to the new property yet, just the camper. So when I come home, I'm doing laundry catch up and cleaning and baking and doing my baking. To restock my freezer and to have breads to take back to the camp with us, because I want my husband eating healthy and I like everything as natural as I can. I know there's no preservatives in it. The only ingredients that was in this was 3 cups of flour, 1.5 teaspoons of instant yeast, and I just used my bread machine yeast, which is an instant yeast. It's good for any fast rise. And then 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 1.5 cups of warm water. And I was using bottled water, so as you'll see on my part 1, I just put my 1.5 cups of water in my microwave for 30 seconds and let it warm up a little bit above room temperature, but not hot, just warm. And then everything turned out amazing. When I stirred it up, at first it seemed a little dry, so don't be tempted to add more water. The more you stir it, it'll become a sticky, messy dough, and that's what you want. So once you get it all stirred up, just put a cover over your bowl, either a plastic wrap or a bowl cover, and set it on your counter for 2 hours. If I wanted this for tomorrow, I could just go ahead and do this part and then let it sit on the counter for 2 hours and then go ahead and put it into the slow cooker. Or if I want it for tomorrow, at that point I can move it to the refrigerator and leave it in the refrigerator overnight. And then take it out tomorrow, let it warm up to room temperature. Then I can move it into my slow cooker with parchment paper and do the 2 hours in the slow cooker. So am I impressed? Yes. Do I recommend having a thermometer so you know what your center temperature is? Yes. And mine was probably close to 198. Of course, I waited a few minutes before I did check it. And it only took, once I actually turned the broiler on, it only took 5 minutes on the broiler. So depending on your stove and the temperature of your stove, so 3 to 5 minutes on the broiler. After your 2 hours, make sure you remove it from the parchment paper when you move it to the metal tray, and then put it in on your broiler for 3 to 5 minutes. And just look at that lovely bread. Absolutely perfect. It's soft, but yet it still has a little bit of a crunch. And again, how soft is it? I have dentures and I had absolutely no problem doing my taste test. So, would I recommend trying this? Absolutely. Have I enjoyed trying this experiment and sharing it with you? I absolutely have. And if you've been with me for a while, you know I enjoy trying new things in my kitchen. So, can you make bread in your slow cooker? Just look at that. You absolutely positively can. So I hope you try this and let me know. Send me some comments. Let me know what you think. If you've tried it, did you get the rise? What did you do to get your rise, or was yours more like this one? Because I didn't roll the first ball real tight. It was kind of a loose roll. I didn't score it. And on the first batch, I did not put the towel in. So the 2 different ways that I'm seeing it on YouTube is when they're putting it in on the parchment paper. One video was showing it without a towel on top, just put the lid on, put it on high. A couple other videos is showing a score top placed on the parchment paper, a towel on top, and then the lid. So I'm trying both ways, and I'll let you know which way I think is best. I'll put that in my description. So I hope you enjoyed this, and don't be afraid to try new things in your kitchen. It's fun. So thank you for joining me, and if you like videos like this, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you the next time. So enjoy your kitchen, have fun, and as always, you're never too old or too young to learn new things. Look at me. I'm old, and I'm trying something new, learning something new, and I'm absolutely pleased. Just look at that. And it's soft, it's squishy, but yet it still has a crunch to it. So, okay, that's all I have. And again, if the puppies were a little loud in the background, there's 7 puppies. They're 8 weeks old. They're playing and romping and having fun. So, until next time, bye-bye, everybody. Enjoy your kitchen. Try new things. And yes, can you bake bread in your slow cooker? You absolutely can. Look at that. 2 hours in your slow cooker. Remove it from the slow cooker. Remove the parchment paper. 3 to 5 minutes in your broiler. Check your temperature. Your temperature in the center when your bread is done should be 190 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So yes, I recommend you try it. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your Sunday. Bye-bye.